Ironically, Candace Parker is in a little bit of a hot seat right now.
Yeah, she probably shouldn't go to Chicago.
Candace Parker just crossed one of the WNBA's unwritten boundaries, and now the backlash is in full swing. If you've been paying attention, you already know this is the current climate in women's basketball. The league's fastest rising star, Caitlin Clark, is breaking attendance records, driving historic TV ratings, shattering milestones, and still facing constant criticism. And here's the wild twist. It's not only her. Anyone who publicly supports her without handing out identical praise to every other player quickly becomes a target. That's not hyperbole. It's exactly what's happening to one of the WNBA's most decorated players ever, Candace Parker. At this point, it's undeniable. Caitlin Clark is the main force behind the league's recent boom. She placed fourth in MVP voting, broke the single-season assists record, and was named Time Athlete of the Year in her rookie season. That's the resume of a generational player. But here's the catch. The second you acknowledge that without quickly adding, and everyone else is just as important, you're suddenly labeled part of the problem. That's when the critics swoop in. That's exactly where Candace is now. For months, she's been consistently positive about Caitlin, but this week she went further, not only shutting down one of the most ridiculous talking points about Clark, but also flipping the scrutiny back on the players who keep pushing it. That's when the shift happened. Suddenly, she wasn't just sticking up for a teammate, she was directly challenging the league's preferred storyline. And in the WNBA, that's a rule you're not supposed to break. So what exactly came out of her mouth? And why is it shaking the establishment? Let's unpack it. But first, if you're here for Candace's clash with the league's narrative machine, hit that like button and subscribe so you catch every update.
I just think that when you bring opinions to the table, you gotta have something to back it up. So you can't just say stuff.
Fortunately for Candace, she's quickly discovering that this is not how the WNBA functions right now. When it comes to Caitlin Clark's impact, both on the court and on the league's bottom line, the common approach is predictable. Either bury the truth or downplay it until it barely registers. And you don't even need to take my word for it. Just watch how ESPN handled the All-Star Game coverage.
Ratings. That is fine. That is absolutely fine. But like, it is another situation than pretending like Caitlin Clark doesn't exist.
This has become a wake-up call for Candace. The WNBA doesn't reward honesty about Caitlin's influence. Her effect on both performance and revenue is obvious. Yet certain voices stick to the same formula. Sidestep it or shrink it until it sounds insignificant. And you can see it clearly in ESPN's framing of the All-Star Game numbers. Instead of comparing this season to last, the season Caitlin actually played, they jumped all the way back to 2023. Why? Because a direct year-over-year comparison would have exposed a glaring fact. Viewership dropped 36% without Caitlin on the floor. There's no credible reason to skip over the most recent season unless the goal is to hide the Caitlin Clark effect and maintain the illusion that the league doesn't need her. This is straight from the old guard media playbook. Even with Caitlin directly increasing revenue, there's an unwritten mandate. You can't single her out for praise. You have to pair it with compliments for other players, or risk being accused of damaging the league. That double standard is most obvious when Angel Reese comes up, and this is where Candace really rattled cages. For reasons never backed by hard numbers, there's been a steady push to elevate Angel's profile to match Caitlin's fame. To be fair, Angel's self-promotion has been top tier. Outside of Caitlin, no other player enjoys broader name recognition. But here's the truth you can't voice without blowback. Angel Reese isn't on Caitlin Clark's level in terms of skill or economic impact. Say it, and the outrage is immediate. You can bring stats receipts, and even point out that Angel's team moved games into a 20,000-seat venue just for Caitlin matchups, yet couldn't sell out their own home arena, which holds half that, and it still won't matter. An honest side-by-side comparison gets treated like heresy. Meanwhile, criticism of Caitlyn is completely fair game and often goes unchecked, with her sidelined for much of the season, and clearly not at 100% when she has played. The usual detractors have been circling, eager to chip away at her importance. After the Fever won the Commissioner's Cup without her, and followed it up with a win over the Aces, ESPN's Carolyn Peck didn't just commend the team, she floated the idea that the Fever might actually be better without Caitlin Clark.
I think that Indiana is even more dangerous when Caitlin Clark doesn't play because she's a ball-dominant guard. The ball's in her hands a lot, so you know what you need to try to take away. But when you look at Indiana now, they've got so many weapons.
And that was only the spark that lit the fuse. Because after the Fever ripped off a 5-game winning streak, the celebration never came. Instead, the better without Caitlyn narrative roared back, louder than ever.
We have to deal with the possibility that the Indiana Fever right now, in this moment, are better without Caitlin Clark. And that sounds crazy, and people are saying, how can you say that? I'm saying it because we're seeing it.
And